Hey there, I'm Hannah Baldwin.
And I'm Brandon, and welcome back to the New Community Podcast. We believe that you are created for more, and we want to help you experience the full life you were created for.
In our previous episode, we welcomed Margaret St. Clair, and she was talking with us about how to manage our anxiety in this season right now.
Right, and so we're going to pick up about halfway through the conversation, and she's going to share 5 more tips for how to do just that. So we hope you enjoy this and it adds value to your life. All right, how about number 7?
So the next thing you're thinking about is what you believe about God. Now, I'm not talking about a specific God, but in general, if you are a spiritual person and you are someone of faith, you've been participated in a faith community at some point in your life, thinking about what God's role is in your life is really important. Exploring your spiritual beliefs is really important because that can reveal things to you about how you handle crisis and what you think about the supernatural influence that could be in your life.
Yeah, I love that. I love just that call to pay attention to kind of spiritual questions that are happening in our minds and in our thoughts. It's really good.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who's in that place and they're asking questions maybe they haven't asked for a long time, or it's just been a while? What do you say to that? How do you help? How can they process that in a healthy way?
What I think is really, all of my former clients and people that work with me are going to be upset when I say this. Crises are opportunities for change. They just are. And so crises are opportunities to go back and reignite your faith, your beliefs, engagement in your community and with people who believe what you do, and to explore the unknown questions that we set aside because of the busyness and the hurriedness of our lives.
Yeah.
When we're sheltering in place, are we someone has to be bored by 7 o'clock at night. They've done all their tasks. They got their work from home done. You're sitting there like, now what? I'm exhausted. Yeah. Well, that may be those moments where perhaps the spiritual is impinging a little bit on your human experience and challenging you to consider there could be more. And that's a really cool question that a lot of people start to lay down as they build their lives and their families.
Wow. That's gold mine right there. That's awesome.
It is.
Cool. All right. So that's, I don't even remember what number we're on anymore. Was that?
I think we're on number 7.
Next.
Number next.
Number next. So the next thing is, who is your go-to person? Now, some people may have lost their go-to person, and there is opportunity there to find someone new in your life who can be a mentor or a source of inspiration to you. Okay. So I don't mean the go-to person that helps you to remember how terrible things are and how awful life is. This is the go-to person that when you're finished in the conversation, you feel uplifted or encouraged or challenged. Someone who can give you feedback. It's really important, especially if you're sheltering in place in your home alone, that you have someone you can reach out to through Zoom or through Google Duo, I think it's called. There's a bunch of other resources where you can see someone face to face and talk with them, just be real. I think it's really important.
That is great.
Yeah.
Talk to us. Is that just a spouse? Is that just a old friend, a sibling? Who do we need to think about in that space?
Yes. Old friends, new friends that you've made recently that you find are in line with your values and with maybe perhaps people that you look up to or you feel a little shy about because they're different or believe differently than you do or look at life in a different way. Maybe they're in a different socioeconomic state than you are. So this gives you an opportunity to reach out to people or build a go-to group of people that you can have for future reference. The coolest thing is that once you see someone face to face and you start to chat, you start to smile, and you find that you're mutually encouraged just in mission alone. When you don't feel alone, that brings your stress levels down as well.
Wow. It's a great reminder in this season for sure. So
yeah, and actually I didn't do this on purpose, but I was having a rough day earlier this week, and I called my sister that lives in California that has a totally different, she can't even come out of her house right now. She can, but there's major restrictions. And I was telling her where my thoughts had led me, and immediately she was able to speak truth to those thoughts. And I just love, her situation is so much different than mine, but because she had already been just thinking and processing her thoughts, she was able to lead and help me get out of my spiral and bring me to a place of help with mine. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me number 8. What's your 8th tip for this?
So this is really important. What is your input? How much news are you watching? How much news, if you have children at home, are they watching with you? Information they hear can be perceived a lot differently than what you hear. What social media outlets are you engaged in, and how often? How much online information? I like to read the Wall Street Journal every day. Some of the Wall Street Journal. Some of it I find to be helpful. News, I want to know what's going on in the world, but I have to limit how much time I spend in any other news outlet once I've started to get engaged with what's happening in the world, because then I start to feel overwhelmed. If you log on to your email, you see coronavirus and red lines across your computer screen. I work with a state Medicaid agency, and so when I log onto their website, there's a big coronavirus on the front of the web page. So when I work, I see the messages. When I log on to just my email to talk with my go-to friend, there it is again. It's sitting on my one news source I like to gather just some information from. If I turn on the TV, it does not matter what channel is on, you're going to see coronavirus scrolling across the bottom. This many deaths. This is what's happening here. While that's important things to know so we can stay safe, it's also important to limit how much of that comes in.
That's right.
That's great.
Information can be a source that can ignite fear and worry. A long time ago, I worked with a beautiful, bright, and gifted young woman, and she had difficulty getting out of her house because she felt so panicked by the world around her. And as we walked and worked together, we discovered that one of her habits was just to always have the news on 24/7. She went to bed with the news playing in her ears. She woke up with it on. She, in the car, would listen to news on the way to work. At work, the job she had, she could have the radio on all day long, and it was fueling just her own concern and her own anxiety that was already difficult for her to manage. So this just took it way over the edge for her. When she started pulling all of that back and disconnecting, her peace levels, her joy started to rise, and her ability to go out and do new things started to improve and increase. It was amazing to watch. I would not have thought that would be such a powerful season in her life, but she completely transformed.
Wow.
It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for us, we have a rule in our home where there's an hour, there's a time on the clock that when it strikes that hour, our phones go down, and we're not allowed to be on them. We actually, sometimes I have to put mine out of the room just because it's so tempting having our phones in our hands, in our pockets all the time.
Yeah.
And so that's been a huge thing for us. And yeah, definitely the last few weeks, it's almost like you're addicted to the new information, whatever's coming next. And I got to know the next thing, and I got to know. And so I'm constantly checking, and that's good. I mean, it's hard though. It's hard to fight that. It's hard to say no, to that kind of like that thirst, that hunger for what's the new information we need.
Actually, for me, I even had to put a guardrail of what time I was going to look at the news, because I was getting in the habit of looking at it first thing in the morning, and then that just dictated my day.
Oh, that's great.
So I wanted to create the space to get my day going where I had a healthy perspective, and then I will get on and read the news just so I'm in the know, but then not let that guide my day. So
that's a great thought.
And I would agree too. I think you can use the do not disturb features on your phone to literally shut off all of the incoming messages. At some point, I use that religiously. Different days of the week have different times, because otherwise I'm flooded with questions, concerns, thoughts, the news, on and on and on it goes. So life can be complex, but we can push back and we can take control of the information coming into us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really great. All right. What's tip number 9?
The next one, just thinking about who are you keeping company with right now. I've worked with a lot of young people, a lot of teens and adults that are wanting to develop and build healthier social lives. And a lot of times the first thing that we go to is looking at who are they hanging around with? What are the kinds of influences in their life? You might also consider, who are you keeping company with right now? If you're really busy and you work 50 to 70 hours a week, are you only keeping company with your coworkers, some of whom may not share the hope that you sometimes carry with you? They might be drawing you down versus building you up. You might want to limit the company that is around you that is reinforcing the fear and the worry that you have, and instead think about, who are the people in my life that can just talk about the flowers I planted outside yesterday? Or we could talk about other things that aren't related to the virus and the latest news that are going on.
Wow.
So good.
Yeah, that is good. And definitely, I think, tied in that same thing with information. There's just boundaries you have to put up that keep you healthy and keep you focused and bring that anxiety down. Well, we've gone through 9 tips to help us manage anxiety and our worries and uncertainties. Bring us home, bring us to that final thing to share, just to how we can help manage this.
Well, we had this thing we were going to talk about called the eggplant story. So I'm going to have to tell it somewhere in our thing. And I think it kind of fits here. So I was at the grocery store earlier this week, just needing to buy some eggplant. And I went to one of the largest Kroger's in the Richmond area on my way back from some business that I was doing. And I walked in, well, I got to the parking lot. It was full of cars. So, you know, the rules, we're supposed to keep a certain distance and don't sneeze on people and wipe your cart down. And so it got really complicated just getting out of my car and avoiding people in the parking lot with that, whatever the foot is. I thought it was 2, but I think it's 3 or 6 now. And we get into the store and I'm walking in and people literally are all about 3 feet apart. And they're eyeing each other with this worry, like, you're going to give me this virus. And while it's important to have some social distancing, right, we're following CDC guidelines and washing our hands, there is a level of panic and fear and mistrust that I experienced through the grocery store. And because I needed milk, I had to walk from the produce section. All of you Kroger people, you know, I'm not saying Kroger's the only store, Publix is another one. You have to find produce in one place and walk to the last part of the store at the end to get your milk. And I experienced this from everyone around me. It was almost like I had to hold on to my purse, like someone was going to rob me, or they thought I might rob them. It was the craziest thing. And I realized that everyone in our community is experiencing this fear of others. And it's an opportunity to examine how we engage with the people in our community. A lot of times we have preconceived ideas about where is safe, who is safe, what is safe. Well, the COVID virus takes that right off the table, and everybody is a potential carrier, right? So we're all worried just going to pump gas. Who touched the gas pump? Where am I walking too close to this person in the grocery store? In fact, a man stood behind me while I chose my 2 eggplants, because I wanted the biggest one and the smallest one for my recipe. And he waited until I'd fingered half the eggplants. And then he washed his hands, went behind me and picked his eggplant. And then I watched him doing this. I think he had something, sterile wipe in his hand after I touched his eggplants. And I didn't even think about, you know, someone touched them before me. So just that alone is just a funny thing that happens to us in our experience. So number 10 is engaging with other people. And I'm not talking about going to the grocery store and chatting with people in line, because they're probably going to be as worried about you as you are about them.
Yeah.
But if everybody's doing the same thing, maybe we all do share worry and a little bit of fear and a little bit of judgment in our heart, so we don't always realize that's there. And that opportunity gave me that line of sight. I thought, oh my gosh, we are all very similar in this way. But if we feel isolated or if we're alone, we have to think about who can we reach out to. It's really important that you understand that in your community, even if you don't feel like you have family around or you haven't facilitated a lot of friendships recently because you're busy and life is just careening out of control, it's really important that you find someone you can reach out to. Yeah. That can be a call to your local community of faith. That can be a call to someone that's a neighbor that's nearby. There are a lot of people that are in the communities just waiting to be supports for other people. So if you're surrounded by people who are difficult or that are negative, even in your home, let's say you're not isolated, but you're in the house with a bunch of negative Nillies. So if that's the case, I'm not saying that's your situation, but it can be for some. Who can you engage in to get some positive conversation, to think about the future in a positive way? Maybe hopeful thoughts and vision casting kinds of people. You will find that many people in a community of faith are those kinds of people, and they can be life-giving to you.
Yeah, we absolutely believe that. It's really important for us. Our church community is really important to us, our church family. And that's actually what we call them. We call them a family because they're people who walk with us, who stand by us, and can even call us, to those things when sometimes we're thinking a little outside where we need to be. And that's such a good call. I love that. And just important, as we're isolating, we've still got to find ways to engage one another. We've still got to find ways to engage with people we can trust and people who can build us up. And so I think that really just kind of pulls everything together of 10 really solid ways to help manage anxiety in a practical way. I mean, these are practical tips that any of us can do. It doesn't matter who we are, where we're at, or where we're coming from. Any of us can practice these. Any final thoughts from you, just as you've kind of thought through this? I know we reached out to you and asked you to do these things, and these 10 things came to mind. But is there any kind of final thoughts from you?
Well, I do have a couple thoughts. One is that in times when you may have already been struggling with a mental health issue or with previous history where you've had difficulty and relationships weren't safe for you, I want to just throw out a couple resources that you can reach out to gather more information about what you're experiencing. Is this normal response to the stress around me, or am I experiencing a crisis and I need some help? So I'll just throw out some websites that give you lots of good information, and they're from two of the major counseling organizations in the U.S. One is the American Counseling Association. If you go to counseling.org, you can actually look up all kinds of resources on anxiety, depression, family stress, etc. And there's lots of good things that are free that you can look up. They'll also, you can get connected to counselors and use their resources to do that nationally. You can also go to the American Psychological Association, APA.org, and they have 7 crucial research findings that can help people deal with the COVID-19, along with just a ton of good information about tackling anxiety and worry and fear. And these are 2 national organizations that lead the field of recovery and health and wholeness and wellness that can be good resources for you. The other thing that you can do, and I did not know this was on there, but the CDC, who is putting out all the guidelines and all the updated information, actually has a whole section on preparing for the coronavirus. And they have a whole thing on managing anxiety and stress, how to cope, differences in different generations and what you can do. And then I would also encourage you to consider looking at your community of faith, their website. I know you guys probably have some good resources online as well, that people can reach out for and examine a little bit more. Oh, so yes, I'm experiencing more stress than usual, or I might be having a crisis. If you have feelings like you might want to hurt yourself, or that you may be having a medical emergency, you can call 911. They can connect you to crisis responders that are in your community, and you can find help in an emergency at any time. So there's lots of good things out there for you. So if you are alone and you're isolated, not only can you reach out and build a new community of people to engage with, but there are national resources that are trustworthy and that can be helpful to you. So I like to kind of end that there. And also, I want to add that some of the comments that I've made today are just my own personal comments and thoughts about ways to manage, just from my professional experience and my personal experience. And I'm so grateful that you gave me the opportunity to share these with you today. Thank you so much.
Hey, it's awesome. We're just grateful that you said yes. And those are some great resources you provided. We'll actually make sure that those links are available on the post when we do that. But Margaret, thanks again. Thanks for just your wisdom and insight, and for helping all of us just kind of walk through these days a little better.
Yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I hope you enjoyed both parts of this series on how to manage anxiety. We hope it was so helpful, and we'd again love to hear from you. So leave a comment below, or even share a question you'd like us to address on this podcast.
And don't forget, subscribe to our Facebook and YouTube page so you'll know when our next videos come out.
That's right. We'll see you then.
Bye.